Just wanted to point out the information we provide today is of a general advice. If you do want some more information, please seek some professional advice.
Well, welcome to the latest episode of the Retirement Living Your Way podcast, where we have real conversations with Troy Theobald and the team from RFS Advice. My name's Greg Black. Welcome, Troy.
Thank you, Greg, for part two of
Part
property.
two. This is exciting. For those that have listened to part one, which I'm sure you have, we had Paul Harrison from Kollosche on the show talking about all things selling. And today we thought we'd flip that to have a look at the buying side.
Exactly. You said that word exciting. That's when my little prickles go, can we calm the excitement? Paul would rather than get excited and come in all hot and heavy.
Please,
I'm like,
please.
Cool, Troy's going to come and do the negotiating here.
Emotion overflow. That's
Paul will be locking me out the other side going, don't you get near this place. We want to get a deal here. Let's get going. So, so we got a lot of people selling. That's only part of the problem. So they made the decision. We're going to list. Hopefully they listen to all that. Great. The other side, and probably where people can fall down, we've had lawyers on, we've run through some of this. We had Peter Mullett from QBM Lawyers running through this as well, is that buying side, because people can get a little excited sometimes. And is it in budget? Is it here? And ask those after, not before, which is sometimes the wrong way around. But it's that sequencing and all those sorts of things that, we get the phone calls from the client going, I've just bought this. How do you do bridging? Great. Yep. I ring a couple of people and they hopefully help you. But those sort of things in advance. So if we're going to be that smart buyer and, that information in advance, these are people that probably haven't transacted a lot. So they might have not sold for 20 years. What do they need to do? That side of things. Because they're probably walking in, here's the agent, here's the person I'm dealing with. Yep. But, they're dealing with the seller or they're dealing with the buyer. How does it all fit?
And sorry, if I can just jump in, if you could just give a quick snapshot of who you are, where you've been up to, just in case someone hasn't listened to the first episode.
Well, thanks for
just
not sacking me after part one, first of all. So, Paul Harrison from Kollosche, originally from Melbourne, been up here for 4 or 5 years now, resident of Broadbeach Waters with the family, and worked with Kollosche since pretty much since I got up here, and loving the Gold Coast lifestyle, and I can see what all the fuss is about.
Fantastic. Excellent.
Yeah. So someone's decided, all right, we went through that. We've got the house on the market. We're going to sell. We're going along with that. The big picture decision making. Want to buy? Where do we go to? They come in to meet someone like yourself. Is that even a service you can help with?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a really important service, to be honest. I mean, obviously, when we sell for someone, that's a financial partnership. Where we get rewarded for doing a good job. With the buying side of things, I think you have a moral obligation to the buyers to lead them and guide them as best you can. Certainly from our perspective, a lot of our time is spent working with buyers because where would we be without them? So they're a fairly important part of the transaction. And so we always treat them with respect. We've always got time for them. We always try and give them the best advice. If you're not, buyers do have other alternatives now with buyer agents that are out there. And certainly I find on the Gold Coast that there are quite a few buyer agents.
You're seeing more and more coming on?
Yeah, and I think there's a real space for them, really, isn't it? Because it can be difficult to navigate your way through the Queensland market, particularly without pricing.
Yes.
So, a buyer will often wonder, as you said, Troy, is there a conflict because they're representing the seller? Well, we don't think there is, because our job is still to match a buyer with a seller. And to do that, we need to have a relationship with both. But there are buyer agents out there that offer an independent service to then go and talk to agents and try and determine price and put offers in on behalf of the buyer. So, yeah, there are alternatives. But certainly, from our perspective, we love dealing with buyers. And that's, 80% of my day.
Yeah. And so when buyers come to you, are they clear on what they want, or do you find you spend a lot of your time actually really trying to get to the bottom of it? And I guess from our world, we've got people that are actually looking to downsize, they're looking to change their living arrangements, whether it's from a house to a unit to a townhouse. There's just probably not as much clarity. Do you find that? Yeah,
great question. I think it's probably good to start with budget.
Okay.
And say, because that might eliminate quite a few things
yes.
that they were thinking might have been achievable.
Right.
And let's face it, the Gold Coast market has changed so significantly, so quickly, that what was $1 million, 5 years ago is 2 or 2.5. Like it, as I said in episode 1, for those that missed it, property prices doubled over the last 5 years on the Gold Coast. It was one of the fastest moving markets in Australia. So I guess there's always that unknown around what your money gets you now. So that would probably be the best place to start. Okay, you've got a budget of $1 million or $2 million or $3 million, whatever it might be, and then we look at the sort of options that are available there. Some people want to be beachfront.
I was going to ask location, lifestyle.
Some people want to be waterfront. Is there a reason they want to be waterfront? Are they boaties? Is that necessary for them? Is that a non-negotiable? Some people need more car parking because they've got extra cars. Again, number of bedrooms is always a big one at the moment because, again, they're future-proofing their house to have kids stay longer or parents return to live in with them. So, a 3-bedroom home isn't just going to do it anymore. It needs to be 4 or 5 or maybe even 6. So I think we probably reverse engineer it, see what their budget is, see what that delivers them as far as options, and then talk about some of their, non-negotiables and some of their nice-to-haves.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to look at it because we see people, they've made the decision to sell, then they go out to buy a lot of the big new projects, glossy brochures, glossy floor plans, all of this. These are people who've never had neighbours, not used to someone out the front door. The unit looks so attractive with massive marketing campaigns versus the bit smaller house that's not as blingy as their big old house. And to your point, it's like, well, I wanted something single story, easy to maintain. Sometimes you find you're educating on, they're telling you what they want, and you sort of almost got to go, if you look over my shoulder, it mightn't be as pretty as the other, but it's actually what they're looking for.
Oh, without a doubt. It's definitely an education process, even for those that are largely educated about the market because it's changing so rapidly. I think that's a big part of our process is to sit down. I've always worked on the 8 out of 10. I think if you can get 8 out of 10 things that you want in a house, that's actually not a bad return.
Yeah. And what about for those that want to go into that unit sort of style or townhouse? How do you sort of get your head around or help them get their head around it further to Troy's point? Is there anything that...
Yeah, well, I think, again, a lot of people come to us and that's what they want. So over the maintenance, over the big block, over putting the bins out, all that sort of stuff. Yep. And the lock up and leave.
Yes.
They might want to travel a bit more. Kids are out, they're empty nesters or they're downsizers from interstate. So for them, they only want an apartment.
Yes.
So for them, it's a very easy sell. It's a matter of just placing them into one. For those people thinking about the downsize, I think you've got to look at the pros and cons. The pros of an apartment are the fact that it is a very low maintenance lifestyle. Everything's within your fingertips. There's no maintenance to do. It's all looked after you through a body corporate. You've got great amenities, so you pick up things, particularly in the new buildings. I mean, they've got Pilates studios and they've got massage rooms and saunas and steam baths and all this. So, the amenities are world class in some of these developments. So, I think that you look at the pros and the reasons for the people want to make that move from house to apartment.
And what about costs associated with that? Because obviously once you start going down, strata title and all those you've got different layers of fees or outgoings. That's probably part of the education piece as well, or you find most are pretty much comfortable with that? Yeah,
it is. I mean, that's part of it, isn't it? That for all of those advantages that you get, there has to be a cost associated. For all those amenities that you get, for all those services that you get, for that complete wipeout of the maintenance that you get, there's got to be a trade-off for it, and that trade-off is the fees.
Yes.
But I think one thing that developers have managed to do with the way they build these developments now is they've kept them at a fairly manageable level.
Okay.
10 or 15 or maybe 20,000, it might seem high, but in the scheme of things, what you're getting back, when they look at it and say, well, what do I spend on my pool guy every year? What do I spend on my gardener? What do I spend on the time it takes me to fix the stairs or the gate? So I think when you look at it that way, it's all sort of tied up in a bow at 10 or 15,000. You might actually see it as a saving. It might be economically, it might be better for you.
Yeah, because getting the decision wrong is probably what we see a lot, where they go from the big house. They've had the waterfront. I always say to people, you had a waterfront, used to no neighbours, no noise, no anything. Oh, I've bought this wonderful brand new townhouse, but it's my retirement forever. What do townhouses have? Stairs and 2 or 3 floors, and you see people moving to those a year or two in. Oh, my knees sore, that sore. Now I've got to sell. now I'm selling again, and I'm sort of going through the process that, sitting back as that sort of buyer, just that little bit to your point, and just working out what's the problem we're trying to solve. It gets a little lost, I think, unfortunately, along the way sometimes, that journey for people.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I think that's a big part of what we do when we're talking to people. We spoke about this in part one, for those that didn't hear it. When they're talking about selling, we sit down and we talk about what's the next step. Yeah. Where are you going to and why? How can we help with that? Is it the right move for you? Have you thought about all those shortcomings and pitfalls that you might have to look at? And
have a real conversation.
Plenty of townhouses with lifts in them, though, Troy.
Yeah, I was going to say,
becoming trendy.
Paul's got a few there, right?
A lot of the. I mean, it's kind of counterproductive to we actually want them to sell again in 3 years.
So just on that, I've always been interested in, for somebody that is wanting to buy, but they've still got to sell. What's the sort of, what options do they have? How do they go about that? Because it's real, isn't it?
It is, even more so now.
Yeah.
And it's probably more prevalent now because the sellers will entertain it. A contract subject to sale, in times gone by, even, last year, the seller didn't need to entertain it because they had someone else who would buy it unconditionally, or they'd sell it at auction and there was no need to even consider it. But in a market that slows, a buyer can be a bit more creative with their offer, and a seller might consider it. So subject to sale is something that we're seeing a little bit now, and it's where a buyer can say, well, I'm going to put my property on the market, give me 30 days, and I hope to have a contract, and in 30 days I'll go unconditional on your property. If I need to get a small extension, we'll think about that. So that is an alternative for them. Otherwise, of course, and this is something that you could speak more about than I could, it's bridging finance, or it's somehow borrowing against using something else as collateral to settle the house before they've sold their house. I think most people are more comfortable selling first to know what they've got.
Yeah, that's right.
And then be a bit clearer on what their budget is. But it's definitely something that's popped up more in the current market, where a buyer will say, can I buy it subject to the sale of mine?
And if you've got the listing for the sale and then the buy, well, that's you've got an understanding of what the likelihood is on the sale and how realistic that is as well, haven't you?
Yeah, exactly. And as an agent, you would know if they said, look, I need $2 million to be able to go ahead with this purchase. You have a level of confidence that their property was valued around there, and that you would think you'd be able to transact that property. So you'd give that advice to the seller. If they needed to get 3 and it was worth 1, and then you would advise the seller that maybe this is not the contract.
So you just said before you want them to sell in 3 years' time, as just an off the cuff comment, which is gold. What sort of mistakes or regrets have you found people that have actually downsized into a unit or a townhouse, and then all of a sudden it's, to Troy's point, it's not really working? What are some of the things that you've experienced?
I think Troy hit the nail right in the head. Someone who's had a garden and that curses every time they have to do their garden, when they don't have their garden anymore, they realise how much they miss it. Yeah. So I think it's the things that probably drove them to think about downsizing, and then they downsize and realise that maybe they were the things that they really enjoyed about the property or their own lifestyle. So you do make some sacrifices when you move to an apartment, but I think I don't see that a lot, where people have made the call to move to an apartment and then have regrets or second thoughts about going back into a house, because normally they've moved for a really good reason.
Yes.
The house is just them. It's just them and their partner, or the kids have moved out, so it's too big, it's too much. Or they're getting older and the maintenance is too much. So, but I think certainly if there were regrets, it would be around probably the things that they thought were the reasons they should move in the first place, strangely enough.
Yeah, the biggest issue we probably see is the body corp. So people move in, there's a body corp issue, there's always 1 or 2 on the body corp, they get involved, they're brought in, like the naivety of not knowing what they're getting into, and the amount of clients that end up selling and moving is massive.
Yeah, but beware the retired solicitor who's become the chairperson of the body corporate. Apologies to all the solicitors out there too.
No, that's good. What about on the cost side of things? What are some of the costs associated with buying that people often, I guess, underestimate? Because stamp duty is the one that comes
stamp duty is
to
the
my
big
mind.
one, but people will most likely have spoken to a broker or spoken to their bank and have an idea of what, if I pay $1 million or $2 million or whatever, what the stamp duty is, and you can look that up. That's really easily accessible information. If they decide to get their own building and pest report, that can be a cost. If they have to engage a solicitor, so there's a cost there. We're probably talking a building and pest report could be anywhere from $500 to $1,000. A solicitor probably the same. If they've had to engage a financial planner, then maybe there's a cost there, or the cost of engaging a broker. It's not significant.
No, okay. So
it's there. Look, take out the stamp duty.
Yeah.
And the rest are relatively superficial. Yeah. And the only thing that's really necessary, as I say, we get building and pests on all of our properties. So the only thing as a buyer that you would need if you were doing a transaction with us would probably be your solicitor.
So just on that, thoughts on, so obviously within your world, when you're selling a property, you get the building and pest. I guess go back a number of years ago, the buyer was always the one that would actually go and get their own building and pest on a particular property. Those days have gone in your world?
I think it's also you don't know what you don't know. So if the buyer gets the building and pest and it comes back with 40 items and you look at it and think, gee, I could have fixed 20 of those, then it's the opportunity to get the house ready for sale, as well as having a document that helps the buyer with their decision-making process. We use some of the best building inspectors on the Gold Coast that are extremely thorough. Their reports are 20 and 30 pages long with photos and explanations, and so the buyer can readily see
and understand
and know what they're getting into. So again, you're taking away all of that anxiety around the purchase and saying, look, here's the building and pest report to give you some comfort around the property. All the information that we provide up front to a buyer to make their decision-making process easier. That's our job.
The only thing with that is the buyer, though, isn't covered under that building and pest, are they? There are disclaimers. It is not. If you want to be covered as the buyer against that building inspector, you need to have your own report and pay for it, as I understand it.
Well, if your contract is subject to a building and pest, then obviously you would go and get your own at your own cost, and because you would be either buying or not buying based on the result of that. But as far as them having, well, I mean, it's buyer beware anyway, Troy, isn't it? Even with our building and pest, you are taking it on face value that you're buying the property with those items on the building and pest report.
So just on that, are there any sort of rough rules of thumbs with conditions on the contract? Because it was always subject to finance, building and pest. Are there are they things that you think are prudent just to give the buyer time to tick those off? Or
well, if you're buying at auction, then obviously you have to tick those off before you get to auction, which is another reason that the auction process is good for the seller.
Yes.
Because they know that if somebody buys their property on the day, you're signing contracts and it's done.
Yep.
If it's a private treaty and you've opened up the door for a buyer to put in an offer with terms and conditions, then they are the main ones, building and pest and finance. But subject to solicitor review of the contract, that might be one that we see a fair bit.
Yes.
Subject to sale, as I say, has probably crept in to the market a little bit more in recent times, where sellers might consider it where they otherwise wouldn't have. They're probably the main ones.
And in your experience, the length of settlement, what sort of on average would it be 60 days, 90 days?
It was interesting. When I first got to the Gold Coast, everything was 30.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. You went and tried that.
Melbourne's a lot longer, isn't it?
You went and tried that on in Melbourne at 30 days, and the brokers would laugh at you. They're like, oh, no, we need 45 at least to process.
They would. The 14 finance, you'd ask the broker, you see him go white.
So, but look, it's probably stretched out a little bit as we've had more interstate buyers coming to the market, because the only reason that we did 30 was because everyone kind of accepted that 30 would be all that was on offer. I think now it's probably 30, 60 is considered reasonable, and gives you time to get your ducks in a row, and I would think that's probably more than all.
Yeah.
So if you're going to be the buyer out there and you want to put your strong foot forward, we spoke about some of the different methods. Is it letter of offer? No, I want to put it on contract. Go put it under their nose. If we're sitting here with the buyer at home wanting to get a good deal, what's a bit of hot tip for them to help?
Yeah, look, act quickly. I honestly still think that if you've jumped ahead of the pack, particularly in a market like we're in now, if you've jumped ahead of the pack and put an unconditional offer on contract to a seller, you are going to put yourself in a really strong position. I've had sellers who have openly said to me, look, I really want this, but if I got this and it was unconditional and a relatively short settlement, there's some wiggle room there. Yeah. So I think it's only a buyer's, talk about a buyer's market or a seller's market, it's only a buyer's market if you're actually out there and engaging and committing to an offer. And they say about the bottom of the market too, you only know the bottom of the market when you're back up and on the rise again. And you look back and say, that was the bottom. I think now's a really good time to buy.
Yes.
I really do. You're not going to buy with as much competition as you would have 6 months ago. Yeah. You're not likely to have a property that is an outlier and just has this crazy result that nobody saw coming. So I think you're buying in a balanced market with little or no competition. But to take advantage of that position, you've got to get in early. You've got to jump at it. If you see a property that you like, doesn't matter what the market is, make the moves to buy it. And if you're buying it in this market, you'll actually buy well.
You used to buy, everything was, I'll buy that subject to sale, and then when it sold, the next house would sell. That was, then that suddenly went away when you had that momentum. So to hear that back, it's back.
And I do know of one recently that was subject to sale. So it sort of was a three-pronged.
Oh, wow.
A needed B and B needed C.
And everything needed to fall into place.
So we a few sleepless nights for that transaction.
Exactly. And Paul, if someone's looking to buy, there's certain things that you think really non-negotiables. If you're looking at whether it's a unit or a townhouse or something where there should be certain boxes that are ticked to actually help resale at the other end.
There's definitely better positions and locations than others. But again, if someone came to us with a budget and they said, I still want a really nice house, well, then the obvious move is to move out a suburb or two.
Yeah.
The further away you get from the beach, the better value you're going to get. The further away you get from the water, the canals, and the better value you're going to get. So I think, again, it's largely budget driven.
Okay.
But if someone said to me, this is my budget, find me the best thing that you can, then naturally you want to have amenities around you.
Yes. Schools,
transport, cafes, restaurants are always great. The beach is a good one, of course, on the Gold Coast, or water. You want to be facing the right way, and Troy and I have this conversation all the time. North and northeast are considered to be really good aspects. That doesn't mean that west and south aren't, but if you're looking at where the resales are, then a north-facing block will always sell for more than a south-facing block.
Yep.
There's certain locations and even pockets within those locations. The Broadbeach Waters is one that has the Golden Triangle, and it's wider water and it's bigger blocks, and that's perceived to have higher value. So, tricky question, Greg, but I think that for me, non-negotiables would be around, and again, budget driven, but would be around finding a good location with the right amenities around me, and that would make my property always attractive enough for someone else to want to buy it.
Yes. Yep. No, that's good.
And round when people sort of come to sign up, where are we at nowadays with sort of cooling offs and those where people sort of go, what are the sort of broad rules there? If they get excited, come and sign. Is it?
What do I do?
Yeah. or the opposite.
Yeah.
Yes, again,
right.
And this is they're entitled to a 5-day cooling off period as part of Queensland legislation. They can waive
that.
They can waive that right, which in other states you actually can't. But they can waive that right. And again, if they're trying to make their offer more attractive, then they might say, well, look, I'll waive the cooling off period. I don't need to think about it. I'm sold on the property and I've done my homework and I'm ready to go. So that would make their offer more attractive. But they do have a 5 business day cooling off period but they pay a penalty. It's a small penalty, but they pay a penalty if they use cooling off as their reason for terminating a contract.
Yep. No, that's fair. And deposits? What's the norm if you're buying? What would be the normal deposit?
It can't be any more than 10.
Right.
In Queensland, which is interesting because quite often in other states, someone would say, "What about if I give you a bigger deposit?" Well, 10% is the deposit here, so it's anywhere up to 10. It's normally 5 to 10% that we would represent for any sale.
Yeah. Okay.
And then if we're turning up, we're ready to bid. What's some little tips for someone out there as a prospective purchaser at a
be the first one to put the hand up or sit there with your hands in your pocket?
This fascinates me, and that someone's always...
Troy's trying to get some tips here, so just...
Someone's always... I've got to get Troy to bid at an auction.
Oh, good luck. Good luck.
I have got a paddle in his hand a few times. But,
yeah.
Look, my advice is really simple here. There's no game of poker. The auctioneer is just taking bids from whoever puts their paddle up. So you're not going to fool us. By waiting, it's not going to make other buyers think that you've got an endless budget. I just think now, get your hand up as quick as you can, because you never know. If you put your hand up first and you keep putting your hand up, then someone else might look at you and say, well, this person's not even stopping, so why am I going to get involved now if they're going to have another 5 or 6 bids and going to blow me out the water anyway? So our advice is always to get out in front and let everyone catch you. That's and you go to your budget. If you've got a budget, go there, get there as quick as you can. If you've bought it, you've bought it, and if you haven't, we'll move on to the next one. But I think that you can overcomplicate it.
Yeah.
It's really simple. You've got a number in your head that you'll go to. Bid aggressively at the start. Let everyone chase you. That's the best way.
Yeah, no, that's a good
That's
tip
good.
there in regards
Absolutely.
to that, because that's probably the scenario people were missing out, sitting back. Oh, I might have, I would have. Now it's the opposite. Oh, if things keep dropping, I might wait longer, and you've got people sitting renting and that ticking away, and we do have others that just to that point of when to buy, when to sell, and how to line it up. So it's interesting that subject to sale coming in, because we have so many people, I'll wait till I sell and then I'm going to rent for 6 months so I can be stronger as a bidder, because no one was entertaining a subject to sale.
Yeah.
So that's a...
It's a shift.
Yeah,
it's a shift
absolutely.
in the market. But let me tell you, it can shift very quickly the other way. And already now, the rates were on hold the other day. So we seem to have steadied on that side of things. The federal government have already backflipped on a few of their policies, and that's not looking as dramatic as it was.
Yeah.
The war overseas is somewhat pacified. And so all of those things are sort of, yesterday's news. And as I said, the Gold Coast market is extremely resilient. You've got 750,000 people here at the moment, expect to be 1 million by 2040. You've got continued growth in infrastructure. You've got massive amounts of migration. You've got a housing shortage. You've got infrastructure development everywhere with the light rail and the Coomera connector. And so there's so much happening. And that's before we even talk about the Olympics. So
I was going to ask on that, yeah.
So all of those things are really good drivers for the market. And I think that the Gold Coast market isn't done with yet. It's like, if people always say when's the best time to buy, I don't think I've seen a better time to buy than now. But you've got to buy. If you try and outsmart the market and you wait another few months, it can turn really quickly. Yeah. If we had a rate drop, let's just say, at one of the next sittings, that would make a massive difference to the market. That would give it a shot in the arm. And then you come out of winter, which is traditionally a little bit quieter. You move into spring and everyone's happy. All of a sudden you get 2 or 3 boosts to the market instead of 2 or 3 deterrents like we had at the start of the year. And that can change really quickly. So certainly my advice to people is this is the market you've been waiting for. Everyone says, I only want to buy when, there's not a lot of other buyers around. This is it.
Yeah. You might get Troy's paddle in the air at some point.
Who knows?
Let's hope so.
Sorry, mate, I had to go there. Just
couldn't
help myself. Yeah. No, that's good.
So, we're coming towards the close there. So, I suppose last sort of tips for the sellers or the purchasers here. The other thing is people come out, they don't want to give you a budget. I've seen there and people, I've seen people dismiss you in the room, where, it's pretty simple for our clients. I'll ring you, mate, they need 4-car garage, they need the non-negotiables. if people let you know, gosh, life's easier because, as I said, that's where I've used the likes of yourselves where, where we know what they want.
Yeah.
So that if we can just tell you what they want, you're not going to send them 27 other things that isn't what they want. You can, with databases and everything, you can really match and just say, these 3 might be relevant. You don't have to spend Saturday driving around looking at 18.
Look, we genuinely love dealing with our buyers. Think about it even from a job satisfaction point of view. It's great for us to get good prices for our sellers, but there's an expectation that as the Gold Coast, leading prestige agency, that's what they engage us for. So there's an expectation to be able to find a buyer their first home, their next home, their dream home, their investment property that sets up their retirement. These are really important milestones in their lives, and we feel really privileged to be a part of that. So dealing with the buyers on a daily basis, that's something that we cherish and we really value. So that would be my advice to buyers. Don't be scared to pick up the phone and tell us as much as you can, because we're actually here to help. And the more we know, the more we can help. We can give you the right advice. We can show you the right properties. We love nothing more than connecting a buyer with a seller.
And so just in that vein, how do people get hold of you? Because obviously you are part of one of the, if not the most prestigious real estate group on the coast, Kollosche. Obviously, you've got a very broad network on the coast.
Yeah,
so how do they get hold of you to then maybe pass it through to other areas?
Yeah, well, certainly contactable, Paul Harrison at Kollosche. My email's paul@kollosche.com.au. They can always contact me on my mobile, and welcome to contact anytime. As I say, I will have so many buyers who aren't even ready to buy that will call me for advice around, what does this get me? Where should I be looking? I'm 6 months away, but maybe keep an eye out for me. And I'd just love to see what the prices are doing. And so we're on this journey with them sometimes 6-12 months before they're actually ready to transact. So, we're always up for a phone call or an email.
Well, the reason you're in that chair is you've got a great name on the coast, and I know, Troy always speaks highly. So
exactly that. That's what we've got clients always looking to buy and sell, and it might be that, look, then they're looking for this. If something pops up, can you shoot it across the desk? Or, clients' kids are looking at something entry level. That's probably what I've found. You haven't gone, Troy, that's it's $1 million. It's not what we do. It's like, what are they after? We'll help. We've got the right team to help. And a bit like RFS Advice, that's the size and scale. We have one of the largest on the coast and probably in Queensland now for advice practices for that reason. And whether it's the kids of the clients or at their level, we can help. And that's really why we try to get like-minded businesses around there of where we're going to refer them to.
Absolutely. Well, look, on that note, Paul, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you.
And if anyone has any questions, rfsadvice.com, check out our website, and also have a look at our retirement toolkit, which we've recently updated. And it's actually got a section on property and housing arrangements as well. So encourage anyone to have a look at that. Troy, until next time, keep well.
Thank you, Greg.
No worries, and take care. Thank you.